Hey, this is Juan Castro, editor on IGN's PlayStation team, and we're here to talk about Ridge Racer 7. By now, Sony fans know that Ridge Racer and Sony launches just go together. The series has gone along with the PS1, PS2, and PSP system launches. Now Sony wants to show you how cool the PS3 is with Ridge Racer 7. To that effect, Ridge Racer 7 mostly succeeds. It's as fun as the series has always been, because it sticks to what really made it popular in the first place, which is, ignoring any and all real-world physics. It's a rewarding title that does a fine job of making racing fun above all else. It keeps the action focused on high-speed maneuvering and less on crashing and blowing stuff up like in Burnout Revenge. Like Ridge Racer 6 on the Xbox 360, it's all about drifting in the game. At first, drifting seems simple enough. Just release the gas and lean in the direction of the turn. And while it never gets any more complicated than that, the courses make you drift like crazy. So you do actually have to learn how to drift and drift well or you're screwed. Nitrous is another huge part of it. You use tons of it in this game. It works the same way as it did in Ridge Racer 6. It comes in 3 phases, in other words, each of which fills up while drifting. Players can trigger each phase manually, so you don't have to use it up all at once, and that's really cool. It helps you strategize when you're actually on the track. And since it doesn't fill up while it's actually being used, there's a constant need to strategize when you're drifting and when you're boosting. Ideally, you want to drift and boost constantly, just in and out of each other. That's pretty much the only way you're going to complete the tracks found later in the game. The quickest way to jump into racing in Ridge Racer 7 is arcade mode. Players just pick a car, a track, and head off to the start. It has 2 basic options, single play and multiplayer via split screen, and that's about it. In addition to arcade, you also score Ridge Racer Grand Prix. It's the definitive centerpiece of the entire game, and it's where most of the action happens. The main screen paints a world map with the locations of different events and races. Drivers earn money and fame points by competing in individual events and Grand Prix races. Players can also hook up with manufacturers and suppliers by using their parts in races. Grand Prix also has UFRA single events. These let you do time trials and a bunch of other races that have specific requirements, not just getting to the finish line first. And what these are for is basically give you money so you can buy different parts and compete in the grander Grand Prix races. Then there's the car customization. You can hop into what the game calls the machine connector to buy and modify cars. You can mess with the engine, tires and suspension, nitrous and plug-in units. You also get visual upgrades too, like spoilers, wheels, decals, and paint options, so pretty much everything you'd want to tinker with the car is all in there. Each category has numerous items, enough to keep players busy for a super long time. Developers claim there's something like 300,000 possible combinations, so there's definitely enough. Plus, the best part about it is that swapping parts actually makes a difference when racing, which is obviously the most important thing. The online component in Ridge Racer 7 is pretty huge. From the moment you load it up, you're online, and you can see your global stats on the right side of the screen and through a ticker on the bottom. Each driver gets their own Ridge State ID card too, which works a lot like the Xbox Live player profile. It lists everything from global rank and fame to a player's location and special awards they've earned. You can race in global time attack as well as a basic ranked matches with friends or just anonymous people around the world. There's also the option to race co-op, which is by far the coolest option. Players can organize nitrous, drifting, and slipstreaming strategies through a chat feature. It's not the most complex thing in the world, it's just a bunch of pre-written messages you can send your teammates, but it works really well and it works fast. You feel like members of a global race community in Ridge Racer 7, and I think that's something developers really strived for. There's this constantly updating race statistics and personal achievements. You throw that in with a bunch of nice tracks, good tunes, and a nice selection of cars, not to mention the car customization option, and you've got a pretty solid package.